Cinematography's my thing.
Have you ever heard the saying, some things never change? In most cases of business, that's not always true. With all the government policies, right, technological advancements, and with the creation of the internet in the last 2 decades, those things are always changing. Has anyone ever heard of Simon Sinek? He describes this game called the infinite game. I like to think of the art of negotiation as an infinite game, right? It's a game that's only played for the sake of playing it and the continuation of that game, right? The players are interchangeable. They only drop out of the game if they run out of the will or the resources to play that game. So the meaning of negotiation, right? The art of negotiation is a skill only developed through trial and error of many events in which you had to negotiate. The first step in exploring this skill is to learn what negotiating actually is. I'm trying to skip this. Simply defined, it's a discussion aimed at reaching an agreement, right? So if you go next slide. It's an English combination of 2 words. Negotiate, meaning to obtain or bring about by discussion, and negotium, Latin for carrying on of a business. So now that we know a little bit of information about negotiation, I will carry on by discussing the characteristics of those who are good negotiators. Right? Preparation, right? So you want to be prepared. Anytime as businessmen, when we're going door to door, we're prepared because we have our information. We know about our product, we know what we're about to sell, right? Active listening. When you listen to somebody and you're actively engaged in what they're saying, you make them feel important, right? Decision-making ability. In a moment's notice, you have to be able to make a decision that benefits both parties, right? It's mutually beneficial. Problem solving. You have to be able to solve problems. That's why we're knocking on these doors. We're there to solve their problems, right? Motivation. Emotional control. You have to be able to deal with the negative, take all that rejection, all the no's, and still have that positive mindset when you're knocking those doors. It means everything. Verbal communication. If you can communicate fluently with somebody to where they understand what you're saying, your sell is going to be a little bit easier. That process is going to be a little bit easier. So these are some of the characteristics of good negotiators. A poll amongst MIT students shows that it's charm, articulate, experience, patience, and persuasiveness. Now, according to the experts, right, it's knowledge of subject matter, integrity, decisiveness, and flexibility. So here's some real-world examples, right? When you go into an interview, research the company before you go into that interview. When your manager or whoever it is that's doing the interview is in that process, you're going to impress them if you already know something about the company. At that point, you're more willing to be hired, right? Because you already know something about the company. So say you're already employed. When you're employed for a company, research deep into that company and the product, because then you're credible about what you're selling and what you know, and it just makes the process a lot easier, and it helps the other person that you're selling understand, right? So as a business owner, right, when you own a business, it requires you to negotiate often, almost every day. When you're doing these deals, you have to be able to know how to negotiate and communicate fluently with other people. So since we are now familiar with both the art of negotiation and the characteristics of good negotiators, I would now like to discuss the do's and don'ts of negotiating and provide you with a few tips to better your skills. So do's, do your homework. Gather as much pertinent information as you can prior to that negotiation, right? That's doing your homework. Always be willing to walk away. If you can't conclude a deal that satisfies both parties, walk away. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Everything is negotiable, right? So challenge everything within reason. You don't want to be too pushy with it. You're going to scare them away. Don't negotiate with someone who doesn't have the authority to sign off on the deal. When we're knocking on doors, we're not negotiating with children, right? We want the mom, we want the dad, we want the boss, right? So it's kind of simple to understand. It's just a little bit more difficult to actually apply these things. Tips to improve skills. As cliche as it sounds, just do it, right? So we're out there on these doors, we're knocking every day, and we're going at it every day, we're just doing it. We're learning by going through these trial and error, failure after failure. Sometimes we stumble across success, but we're just doing it, right? We're just doing it. So I want to be affirmative when I say this. These aren't just tips you can start implementing today. I urge you to implement them today, right? So build relationships. How do we build relationships? We connect with people, right? We network. That's how you build relationships. Ask good questions. Why do we ask good questions? Because they lead to better answers, right? We're asking good questions. Be honest. Be completely transparent in what you're selling and what you're doing. That builds trust, right? Credibility. Someone can trust you if you're honest with them. Listen more and talk less. When you listen to somebody, you're not like fake listening, like acting like you are and really thinking about something else, and you're locked in with them, it makes them feel important, right? So, conclusion of my main points. We went over what negotiation is, why it's important, characteristics of good negotiators, and the do's and don'ts of negotiating. That's why the only way to be good at negotiating is to just do it. Thank you.